Hey everyone, JagTagger93 here with a review of a recent one-level WAD called Void and Rainbow. By the way, I really should make this clear really quickly right now. Uh, Void and Rainbow I'm going to say seizure warning. This map has multiple flashing textures within dark environments, so yeah, please be careful. Now, I found out about this WAD from another Doom YouTuber, Icarus Lives, and it looked really interesting, so I decided to try it out for myself. And what I got was, admittedly, a very mixed experience. One thing I cannot deny at all is that a lot of work was put into the aesthetics of the WAD. Everything looks absolutely gorgeous. The environments are a fantastic mix of the theme of, well, the name Void and Rainbow. There's a nice blend of industrial and medieval fantasy resources and textures used from Doom 64 and Heretic, respectively. The music is another highlight. For much of the WAD, you'll be hearing the dreamlike tones of Illusion from the Akira anime soundtrack, drone on and on. However, I found that this track was actually so calming that I sometimes felt I was being lulled into complacency, which is no good. This map is friggin' hard. More on that in a bit. The other track the player will hear during gameplay is a track from the Serious Sam soundtrack, which definitely fits the high adrenaline boss fight at the end. Again, more on that a little later. Really, my only complaint about the aesthetics of this game is that the flashing rainbow textures blink way too quickly. Now, I don't suffer from seizures at all, but there were times where I felt myself getting disorientated and felt some eye strain as well, so yeah, that definitely could be slowed down a bit. Now, this water looks and sounds really pretty, but is it as enjoyable to play? Well, not so much. First of all, there's a lot of platforming here. Now, I'm not a fan of first-person platforming at all, and every person I personally know that likes playing classic first-person shooters also really hates it. I mean, it's like water levels. Everyone hates them, and yet they just keep on appearing. Granted, the author did tweak the physics to make jumping a bit easier, but the unfamiliar feel of the new adjusted physics makes for some trial and error. Well, actually, really a lot of trial and error. And unfortunately, falling means death, and the player will fall again and again and again. So this map also leans extremely hard on repeatedly quick saving. The enemy placement is just as infuriating. Blots are these little balls of evil, will often hide under the floor and wait for the player to walk over them. When that happens, they pop up and immediately start taking chunks away of your health. The first few times, it is likely the player will have no idea what they're dying from. And again, they'll smash that load button and quick save, walk into the room, again die, and again, you'll eventually realize what's killing you. Also, the super imps and other ranged enemies will often be placed in distant sniping areas. And unfortunately, your weapons are really not up to the task of easily dispatching enemies from a distance. For most of the WAD, the player will be using a shotgun and a chain gun. Now, the shotgun is great for enemies up close, however not so good with trying to pick off super imps from a distance. Also, the chain gun, it's absolute shit. If it's used, the screen will violently twitch back and forth as the gun fires, and while this is happening, the gun emits an extremely grating, high-pitched whine. The chain gun is great for clearing tight corridors of multiple weaker enemies quickly, or for ripping apart enemies like revenants and archviles up close, well, in the vanilla game. But it is pretty much worthless here when, more often than not, your enemies are spaced out and away from you, and this new chain gun in this WAD is a lot less accurate than the one in the vanilla game. Now, the super imps are really frustrating early in the WAD. The super imps are recolored imps that fire faster projectiles. They also have more health than normal imps. So in the vanilla Doom game, a shotgun blast up close usually kills the imp. But here it takes at least 2 blasts up close. And as I said before, a lot of times these guys will be harassing you from a distance, so that's just more ammunition you have to devote to them. Now, with all these things, plus the fact that some of the switches are very easy to miss, Void and Rainbow is regrettably a very tedious experience. This was very true in one section where I was completely stuck. In this section, I quick saved here, so if I died, I would just end up right back in this location. but from this location I had absolutely no idea where to go except just follow my death. There was a bounce pad, but that would just bounce me right up to the ceiling. I couldn't get to anywhere else. Across the way, there's this blinking window that if I got there, I wouldn't be able to go through. So what I had to do was actually use the no-clip cheat to get my way out of there, to jump across that other structure and clip through that window. Now, having to no-clip out of a section I accessed during gameplay in earnest without trying to find anything game-breaking or trying to get anywhere I shouldn't be going, but I actually thought I had to go here, and then being stuck and having to use no-clip is a huge black mark for me when judging a map's quality. It's something that doesn't really happen with new maps, especially maps made in 2017. That's the kind of crap I expect from maps made like in 95, 94, 93. I can kind of forgive it considering the unorthodox architecture and structure of this map, but still, that's pretty shit. Thankfully, the boss fight at the end left me with a more favorable impression. The boss fight was incredibly challenging, and I died dozens and dozens of times, but I really didn't feel like this experience was unfair at all. All those times I fell to my death earlier during the WAD now seem to be completely worth it, as those twitch platforming reflexes I've been practicing all along were now being put to the test. And I really gotta say, that's really brilliant, having the player learn and become acclimated to adjusted physics throughout the WAD, for the purpose of having it pay off in a huge boss fight at the end. Really well done. Also, the rainbow plasma rifle here is friggin' sweet. I just wish I was able to use it more in the WAD, just, besides at the very end against this boss. So, overall, Void and Rainbow earns a 6 out of 10 for me, which is not a bad rating. 6 out of 10, that's above average. It looks gorgeous, sounds great, however, it is really long and a very tedious quick save slog. That being said, the final boss encounter was amazing. I feel that if the flashing rainbow colors were slowed down a bit, and about a good half of the map was cut out, it would be such a better experience. Really, the map progression can be definitely shortened. I do remember you start off platforming, then you're indoors for a bit, then you're back to platforming, and it just goes back and forth, and a good half of it really isn't necessary. If that's cut it out, made to be a little bit more well-paced, maybe give the player the rocket launcher a bit early on to make picking off enemies from a distance a bit easier, and yeah, this would be a much better experience. But yeah, well, that's just my opinion. Thank you all for watching. This is JagTagger93 signing out. Have a good one.